Michael Jackson was an icon, no doubt about it. He was known as the King of Pop, and although at the end of his life he was heavily scrutinized, he was beloved by people all over the world. The death of Michael Jackson was especially stunning to myself, not because of the circumstances or tragedy of the iconic figure, but because of the events surrounding my learning of his death. I was on my first trip to London since I had been born there in 1992, in the Royal Surrey County Hospital. The events surrounding that are another story. We were taking a family trip. When I say family, I mean my entire mom's side of the family. There were about 18 of us all together, and it was to be a 2-week vacation, mostly in London. Now, we had left the 19th of June, I believe, from Chicago's O'Hare International Airport. We arrived in London and did some touristy stuff, like go to the London Bridge, the Eye, Buckingham Palace, and more, not paying much attention to the world around us. We had a couple days in London under our belt. It was the 27th of June, and we had just left for the Tower of London. And we're on a boat floating down the River Thames. I glanced at someone's paper. They were reading that early afternoon and noticed Michael Jackson's face on it. We had a couple days in London under our belt. It was the 27th of June, and we had just left the Tower of London. We were on a boat floating down the River Thames. I glanced at someone's paper, and they were reading that early afternoon and noticed Michael Jackson's face on it. I wondered why Michael Jackson was all over the news again. I was hoping he hadn't done anything bad. I kept looking, and every paper had Michael Jackson's picture strewn all over the front page. I became curious, wondering what had happened. Well, I found a paper sitting on top of the trash with his name, then his birthday, with a hyphen, and the date 2 days beforehand. I then looked further down and noticed the headline, which I can't remember specifically, but went something like, Michael Jackson found dead in LA mansion. Turned to my uncle and aunt and showed them the paper. They said, no way, must be a hoax. I pointed out all the other people's papers had the same picture. The whole group of us were baffled by the news. I was never really a fan of Michael Jackson, but I knew the gravity of the situation. He was an icon of his time, the king of pop. He was supposed to kick off his next tour 6 days after his death, ironically in London. It was a tragic end to a tragic life. Still stunned by the situation, my uncle bought a paper as soon as we got off the boat, and we all huddled around him to read what had happened. We had been so disconnected from the outside world, we didn't hear about the events that unfolded until much after. We were all surprised by the chain of events, including our obliviousness. We decided to get lunch together and eat it at Trafalgar Square. We went to a pizza place in London, which took forever. All of us looked like a bunch of tourists, with fanny packs and backpacks roaming around. We got our pizzas around 12:30 and headed to Trafalgar Square. We eventually got to Trafalgar and sat down and started enjoying our pizza, watching all the different people walk by and climb on the giant Trafalgar statue. All of a sudden we hear music in the distance. Trafalgar is pretty big, in 2 levels, mind you. We continue to eat our pizza by the stairs as a crowd begins to gather. I decided to stop eating and check out what's going on. I wiggle my way to the front of the crowd, and there's a group of 3 men, and they're dressed up like Michael Jackson, each wearing a different iconic outfit. They have a giant boombox playing Michael Jackson songs and dancing his legendary dances. We watched this for an hour or so, and a huge crowd has amassed, and it was packed with people watching these 3 guys dance. They did the moonwalk, the crotch grab, the toe stand, and many more. They were almost perfectly in unison, dancing to Thriller exactly like in the music video. It was amazing and something I'll never forget. There was a tribute started next to them with pictures and flowers from Michael. It was a spontaneous experience, and the tribute was all over the local London news. He was a worldwide figure. Everyone knew of him or had heard of him. The experience was surreal, and I will never forget that day, seeing the London Tower, and then going to Trafalgar Square to see an amazing tribute performance to the King of Pop. It's something I will remember forever.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh.